Welcome back. Jen Cordy and myself from sales are talking with Kate Schmutzer in provider contracting about reference-based pricing. In our previous discussions, we talked about what reference-based pricing is. Today, Kate, we want to talk a little bit more about who benefits from reference-based pricing.
Sure. It depends. The perception of savings is tempting when you talk about reference-based pricing, but it's typically false. The slide kind of outlines how non-contracted payers market their reference-based pricing. They have price transparency because employers want to know what the percentage discounts they have over a controlled price, and then they will outline what the cost savings is. However, the savings depends on if the provider actually accepts the payment as payment in full for non-contracted rate. So if a claim is for a provider is priced and paid under that amount and the provider accepts that payment in full, well, the employee benefits, employer, I should say, and employee benefits, because if it's lower than what the contracted plan has in place. However, what typically happens is they use reference-based pricing, and as we talked earlier, it's a percent of Medicare, and they typically set it very low, and the provider does not have a contract with the employer or the employer group, and so they have no reason to accept that rate. So what the provider does is they then balance bill the member. The difference between what the bill charges and what's been paid. And like I said, because the employer doesn't have a provider contract that entitles them to the discount, the member is who gets caught in the middle. However, with Security Health Plan, we use, or other insurance companies, we use reference-based pricing. So they are set at, like I said earlier, we use a percent of Medicare, but the provider has agreed to those discounts. So the member does not get caught in the middle, and the price is firm per negotiated rate.
And when we look at who benefits from reference-based pricing, it's really not any of the groups, because those charges are being passed on, and we don't see, and the employer then loses the control of what's being balance billed, because that's an agreement between the member and that provider. Thus making the employees limited in who they can see for care. Many providers will not take reference-based pricing, or they'll require full payment before they come in for a visit. A provider list is often limited for that types of care, certainly for like primary care, and specialists in certain hospitalizations are not covered. Providers would often balance bill, they will not negotiate with non-contracted payers, meaning that this is their standard rate. This is what is balance billed to the member, and they have those additional charges. To make up the difference between non-contract rates and their usual fees, the patient gets billed for that remainder. Again, another way to look at what balance billing is. And those payments don't apply to any deductibles or maximum out-of-pockets, as we discussed earlier. So hopefully this kind of gives you an insight of who benefits from reference-based pricing, or who doesn't benefit from reference-based pricing in these cases.